Have you ever stopped to think about a totally random date on the calendar? Like March 4th. What could possibly be special about it? Well, what if I told you that they could unlock some of the most incredible, hidden stories you've ever heard?
So, what is it? What takes a completely ordinary day and turns it into something, well, extraordinary? How does one little box on the calendar suddenly become this amazing window into history, into innovation, and into the human spirit itself?
It really comes down to the people. It's their passions, their struggles, their big wins. That's what gives any day its real meaning. And it turns out that on March 4th, we find this fascinating and honestly pretty unexpected group of individuals. I mean, check out this lineup. On this one single day, you've got the death of the guy who finally cracked the code of ancient Egypt, the birth of a tennis star who also happened to be a mathematical genius, a refugee who would go on to become Scotland's Astronomer Royal, and a visionary who was dreaming about air travel decades before it was even a thing. So let's dive in and see how all these stories connect.
All right, first up, we've got two minds that could not be more different. They're connected by March 4th in the most basic ways possible. For one, it was the end of his life, and for the other, it was the very beginning.
And wow, talk about a study in contrasts. On one side, you have Jean-François Champollion. This guy was a French linguist who was so completely obsessed with cracking the Rosetta Stone that he literally started dreaming in Coptic. On the other side, Gilbert Hunt, an American mathematician and a national tennis champ who was, let's just say, famous for being a little out there on the court. I mean, Champollion's whole life was basically this one single-minded mission. You get the sense that every waking second was spent trying to decode those hieroglyphs and give a voice back to this incredible ancient civilization. He was the definition of pure academic intensity. And then there's Gilbert Hunt. A sports writer once said he had a streak of daffiness because he was known for kicking off his shoes mid-match just to pick stuff up with his toes. It's just a brilliant reminder that genius isn't always stuffy and serious. Nope, sometimes it's a world-class mathematician putting on a show for the crowd with his feet. But here's the thing, these brilliant people didn't exist in some kind of bubble. Their lives and the work they did were totally shaped by the huge, world-changing conflicts happening all around them. Just look at this timeline. Lajos Martin fights in a revolution, gets captured, and then is forced to join the enemy army. Hermann Bruck loses his dad in World War I, only to get locked up as an enemy alien when the next one starts. Kazimierz Arbamovich has to literally flee for his life. For them, war wasn't some abstract idea. It was their everyday reality. And you better believe their amazing skills were pulled right into the fight. Remember our eccentric tennis player Gilbert Hunt? Turns out he used his math brain to help forecast the weather for the D-Day invasion. Lajos Martin, the captured revolutionary, was put to work on military ballistics. And Kazimierz Abramovich, he taught the very students who would go on to crack the German Enigma code, a huge turning point in World War II. But here's where the story gets really incredible. These thinkers weren't just products of their time. They weren't only reacting to the chaos around them. No, they were looking way, way into the future. This is a really important pivot in the story. Because, it's one thing to apply your skills to the problems of the day, like a war, but it's something else entirely to see a future that pretty much no one else can even begin to imagine. And that is exactly what they did. They used the language of math and physics to literally design worlds that didn't exist yet. Okay, get a load of this. Lajos Martin, the ballistics expert, said this in 1872. That's more than 30 years before the Wright brothers' first flight. He didn't just predict a flying machine. He predicted its entire impact on society, a move away from trains, the need for international agreements. That is just a staggering piece of foresight. Absolutely incredible. And he wasn't just talking about it either. Martin actually put his ideas to the test. He built his own flying contraptions, and in 1896, his floating wheel, which was kind of like a human-powered helicopter, managed to lift 3 meters off the ground. The man was a true pioneer. So, where does this all lead us? This amazing thread of passion and eccentricity and vision, all woven through this one date, March 4th. Well, it doesn't just stop in the past. No way. This story of discovery is still being written right now. That human drive to figure out our universe just keeps pushing forward. And yeah, believe it or not, the date March 4th just keeps popping up. So, let's talk about something called algebraic geometry. I know, it sounds super intense, but here's the basic idea.
Think of it as a way to describe and solve problems about incredibly complex shapes, but by using the language of algebra. It's really one of the frontiers of modern math.
And on March 4th, 1962, Claire Voisin was born. Today, she is one of the world's leading mathematicians in this exact field, algebraic geometry. Her work is groundbreaking, and she's continuing this legacy, pushing the boundaries of what we know and challenging ideas that have been around for decades.
So when you step back and look at this one single day, what does it all tell us? It shows that math and science, they aren't just cold, abstract formulas on a page. They are deeply human stories. Stories packed with the passion of someone like Champollion, the eccentricity of Hunt, the struggle of Bruck, and the unbelievable vision of Martin.
It really leaves you with one last thought. If a single, random day, like March 4th, can hold all of this history and human drama, just imagine what other stories are out there. Behind every single date in the calendar, behind every scientific breakthrough, what amazing human story is just waiting for us to find it?